You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
You're listening to the winning literary show, Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio, live with host Denise Turney, author of the books Long Walk Up, Portia, Love Pour Over Me, Spiral, Love Has Many Faces, and Rosetta's Great Hope. Turn up your dial and get ready for a blast of feature author interviews, 411 on book festivals, writing conferences, and so much more. Ready? Let's go.
Welcome to today's Off the Shelf Books Talk podcast. I'm going to start with a quote, as I always do when we kick off the shows. And today's quote is by Max De Pree. In the end, it is important to remember that we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. That message, I'm getting that message. That must be for me. I'm seeing that show up in different places. In the end, it is important to remember that we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. Again, that's attributed to Max De Pree. And I want to welcome you again. I tell you, this summer went so fast. I've been so busy this whole year. I can hardly believe it's September. To me, it feels like it should be April. That's how busy I have been. And if you don't take time, what they say, to stop and smell the roses, you won't even know there are any roses. So that's just have to slow down sometimes. Pretty soon, the leaves will be changing colors. Pretty soon, it'll be getting dark sooner wherever you are in the world. I know it's different times. But I want to welcome you to our next to last show in September of 2025. And we have an awesome author on deck for you. I always learn something from each show. And I learned something as I'm researching for the shows. And before we kick off, I do want to invite you to sometime, just make a little note, sometime today, you stop over and visit Chistel.com, and that is CHISTELL.com, and check out the free excerpts, the books. You can subscribe for free to the Book Lovers Haven. You can listen to past shows of Off the Shelf, which you can also listen in different platforms around the world. Again, I encourage you and invite you to visit Chistel, CHISTELL.com. And now, let us go and meet our very special guest this morning. And today's guest is Kit Karson. And Kit is a Montana native. She loves the great outdoors. And she's the author of the Anderson Chronicles book series. Titles included in the series are Land Grab, Innocence Slain, Justice Rendered, and Nefarious Intent. I do encourage you to visit Miss Kit Karson's official website at kitkarson.com. And I'm going to spell that. It's KITKARSON. And again, that's KITKARSON.com. This is what I love about Off the Shelf. You can go over to KITKARSON right now and check out her books, even as you listen to what she shares on today's show. And so welcome to Off the Shelf Books, Kit.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I thank you for She is so tenacious and resilient. We had some technical issues, but Kit hung in there. She's about doing what it takes to get that ball over the wall. So it's truly a pleasure to have you here this morning. To kick off today's show, Kit, could you please tell off the shelf listeners where you grew up? Did you grow up in Montana? And if so, what was life like for you growing up?
I did grow up in Montana, really close to where I live now. And I am a fifth generation, so I have deep, deep roots here. I grew up in probably the type of childhood that people dream of. And I didn't really realize it until I got older and started writing these books and getting comments from people. So I grew up, I think of it kind of like the Montana mountain huckleberry fin. We had very little parental. Um, they weren't helicopter parents. I should say it that way.
Mhm.
We roamed the hills. It's amazing we're still alive. My friends and I, the things we did. But it wasn't just with my friends. I spent every weekend up in the mountains with my dad. We would camp out on the bare ground. There weren't as many bears back then. Um, we rode horseback on trails. We explored. It was a pretty good childhood.
Oh, so are you an only? So you have brothers and sisters? How many of you were there?
Three. I have two sisters. I'm the dreaded middle child, so I have an older sister and a younger sister. Uh, in our older years, and I mean older childhood, like in high school, my sisters were off doing other things, so I was up in the mountains with my dad.
Ah, now when
Yeah.
I think of Montana, I'm wondering if I got the right state. I think I do. You ever hear of Evel Knievel?
Oh, yes, actually, he was born and lived not far from here, a town called
Oh,
Butte. Mhm. Interesting family thing. My grandma grew up in Butte. She was a Butte Irish girl, and she went to high school with Evel Knievel.
oh wow.
Yeah, she tells this story about how when one time he rode his motorcycle through the hallway of the high school.
Oh my goodness.
He was a bad kid back then. Um,
Wow. Yeah, I think it his son Robbie, who passed, I think 2 years
mhm,
ago. The things that I mean, they became world famous for those
mhm.
incredible jumps and stuff. So when I hear Montana, for some reason, it always pops into my mind. Now, when you were a kid, what did you dream of being when you grew up?
Well, strangely, I there was this show on TV back then called Quincy, and he was a coroner. And so I loved Quincy. I wanted to be Quincy when I grew up.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Now,
I
who or
wanted
what?
to investigate mysteries and
Ah,
mhm.
so now you're kind of doing that. Who or what inspired your love for writing books?
I I think it's a lifetime of reading books. I was a major bookworm, still am when I have time. When you have a full-time job and you're trying to write and marketing and it's hardly time to read, but I've always been a bookworm. And
Okay.
yeah, so I think that's it. And then that desire to write actually started decades ago, but it wasn't a good time in my life to be able to sit down and write. So now that I have the time and the support, and it's living a dream, I guess.
What would you say, and I wasn't going to ask you this before I start talking about Sheriff Peter Elliott, but what would you say to someone? I always try to leave some tips or nuggets for our listeners who might themselves be avid book readers, writers, or they may be interested in something else. But you said you wanted to write, but it wasn't a good time. What would you say to somebody who wanted to write, or they may have another passion? Because some
Hmm.
people put it off forever.
Yeah.
What advice would you give in regards to getting started?
I think part of it is it's never too late. So, some people think, oh, I'm too old. I can't start this dream. It's never too late to start a dream. I've heard stories of people who are 89 years old and graduate from college.
Mm.
So don't give up on yourself. And if you have a dream that's been festering, don't talk yourself out of it. Just do it.
Ah,
Just get
don't talk
started.
yourself out of it.
Mhm.
That's very, yes, yes. Now we want to start digging into your novels. Had you always planned to turn the Sheriff Peter Elliott story into a series? When you first sat down to write the first book, had you always intended for it to become a series?
Yes, I did. My first struggle was, what am I going to write? I knew I wanted to write, but there's always that what. So I love mystery series where you fall in love with the characters and you can't wait till the next book to find out what's going on with them or what they're going to do next. And so I was reading a particular series by an author. She has a couple different series, and I had this epiphany. I said, "This is it." Those series were set in England and Scotland, so I knew I needed to set a series in the area of the world I know, and I know small town Western Montana because I've spent my whole life here. So, I didn't realize how special the area was until I started writing, and
Mm.
and finding out that people really love hearing about this area. So, to answer the question is, yeah, I had the epiphany that I needed a series, a small town series with interesting characters that people would fall in love with.
Okay. Now, please introduce us and the off the shelf listeners to Sheriff Peter Elliott. What's his personality, his family background like, and what drives him?
What drove him into law enforcement, he was very young when he was 8 years old and his older brother was 10. Their parents were murdered.
Mm.
Yeah, savagely murdered. And the mystery of that murder carries through the books. It's like a C story. It's not even a B story, it's a C story. So eventually that mystery will be solved. So I just throw out a tidbit every book. So anyway, his parents were murdered. They were in a small town close to where he is now, close to Anderson. And they were sent to Anderson to live with their grandparents. So the murder of the parents drove him into law enforcement because it was never solved,
Mm.
and he felt that desire for justice. So
What?
he does. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I was going to
So
ask you to describe him, his personality, but you might be getting to it. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, there's always a long explanation behind everything. So his personality was the type where he's kind of a fighter, and I don't mean physically, but he's maybe tenacious and he feels that strong need for justice, and he's stoic and focused, and he's also very, very kind
Mm.
and compassionate to people who are going through rough times. He's not very judgmental. He, whether he's talking to the local drunk at the dive bar or one of the senior citizens, he's always very kind and patient. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sound like
So his older brother went into he's a pastor in a church there, and
mm.
he has that different personality where he wanted the answer of why people commit crimes and how to lead them away. Anyway, that was.
Interesting. Interesting. A little bit of contrast there. Now, is
Mhm.
the town land grab? Is it? Is it set in a real town? And can you describe the town for our listeners?
So it is, but it's not. So I call it Anderson, Montana. There is a small town in Montana that I fashion it after. It's really, it's got this main street strip that's all touristy. They actually saved the town
Hmm.
by turning it into a tourist town because it was a dying little mining town. And someone came up with the idea, hey, let's bring people from the outside here. And they were very successful. So I fashion it after that town. I call it by a different name. So I have artistic license.
Okay.
I'm not trapped with every little store and I don't offend anybody. And,
Mhm.
but it is based on a real town.
Okay. Please tell us, please give us a brief synopsis of the book, Land Grab.
So land grab, it's, typical small town, beautiful, beautiful valley full of ranches. And the Russian mafia, which sounds a little out there, but there truly are Russian mafia close to there. They come in, and one thing the Russian mafia does is they like to make money. That's their main thing. So they like to come in and take over areas, and they come in and they want this land to build a huge upscale resort, which will basically destroy the beautiful valley. But the land is not available because it's tied up in a family trust. And when they come in though and they try to bully and threaten and blackmail their way into getting this land because they just are used to getting what they want. And then there's a B story where a rancher or someone moves in from east. I think I said it was Connecticut, and from the city, and they buy a ranch, and it discusses how they're trying to change fence lines and the same thing in a way, take over land that really doesn't legally belong to them. So I
Mm.
come at it at a couple different directions.
Who is the baker's wife? What's her connection to the crime at the bakery?
Well, her husband, they don't manage their money very well. So that's a side story too. And so there is a connection there. He's a part of that family tree that has the land in a trust. And so there's the question, was he working with the Russians to try to
Mm.
sell the land that he didn't have a right to sell because it can only be kept in the family? And did he maybe promise something to the Russians that he couldn't follow through with? And did the Russians murder him too?
Mm.
Yeah, so that's where she comes in and she finds the bloody murder scene and then she takes off. So that's part of the mystery.
How long has that Russian mafia been in that area in the
I don't
story?
know. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Okay.
I've just had several people tell me, "Oh yeah, it's real. They're here." So
Wow. Now Peter Elliott, he's tenacious. He got it when his parents were murdered at 8. He wants to know who did it, what happened, so it
mhm.
kind of led him into law enforcement. But he's a nice guy. So I have to
Yeah.
ask you, dealing with the Ruffian Mafia, and they are no joke. Is he out of his league? Is he out of his league now, taking this
He
on?
yeah, he is a bit, but he's smart and he's stoic and he's not afraid to face them. He has a lot of courage. He's just this, very, he's very, very strong, and yet he's got that kind, passionate side too. So he's not afraid to face up the Russian mafia, and he does.
So as this story ends, and is he a loner? Does he have a family, a wife, kids, or is he on his own?
Yeah, he's single. He has his brother. His brother has a wife, no children. They live close, so he's not completely alone. And the sheriff's office, Peter and his deputies, they're like a family. They're all single, and I bring that up in there about the how hard it is to have relationships when you're in law enforcement. So they're a family, and they watch out for each other.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
what's happening to Sheriff Peter Elliott at the start of book 2, Innocent Slain? And is he still dealing with the same Russian mafia, or or in each book, do you give him a different a villain to take on?
Yeah, each book is its completely own story.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, same people in it. So in Innocent Slain, a young woman is comes to the touristy town of Anderson because people do on the weekends. They go to the candy store and the gem shop and all that. Um, so this young woman comes with a new boyfriend. They get in a fight because she's kind of a princess and wants to shop, and he's not. He's, he wants to go hiking. And anyway, they get in a fight. He ends up leaving her there because she won't get in the car. He's not worried about her because she has parents in Missoula who are wealthy and she has credit cards and cash. He knows she can take care of herself. Well, she disappears.
Mm.
And so the whole story goes around them trying to figure out what happened to her because there's not really a lot of clues. Most of the books, there's not a lot of clues. And then I delve into her and what she's going through.
So we get to so readers get to meet this this missing woman. And
Mhm.
actually, when I was researching for your interview, it seemed like this has happened before. And has the town, is this a town that buries things it doesn't want to face? Have they made these missing women a priority, or let's just turn away from it? We'll just say it's not happening.
Well,
'Cause
no, really not either one of those. It's a matter of the missing women up to that point have been on the edge of society. They've been maybe people who come through and were at the local dive bar, which is a big part of my stories. I call it the Rustler's Roost. And they disappear, and maybe nobody really knows they've disappeared because they were strangers. And there are people who have maybe left their families in some other part of the country, and their families haven't heard from them for years anyway, so they don't know they're gone. So
Mhm.
they're women on the edge of society until this one disappears. She was not on the edge. She was
Now,
very much a beloved daughter from a well-to-do family. So that's the mistake that the abductor makes. Yeah.
ah,
This
now
time, yeah, the wrong person
can,
disappears.
can you describe Stacy Nichols? And so now I was going to ask you, why does her disappearance draw so much more attention than the other women's? But you just answered that. How old is she? She's lived here her whole life, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's young. She's like say in her early 20s. Yeah, she's a young woman.
so her and her boyfriend get in a fight.
Hmm.
Does she just get out and take off walking on her own? It makes now I'm starting to think whoever's doing this is somebody she knows.
Well, she actually they're on the street in typical little tourist towns. It has like the ice cream store, the gem shop, but it also has jewelry shops, clothing stores, stuff like that. And so she wants to go through every single shop up and down the street. And he's tired. He's had enough. The boyfriend, and this is only like maybe their second date. They don't know each other that well.
Okay.
And so he's like, no, I'm done. Let's go do something else. I'm hungry. Let's get something to eat. And she has a little tantrum, she's a little spoiled, and she refuses to get in the car. Absolutely refuses. And he waits for a while because he's not really a bad guy. And he finally just leaves her because she refuses to get in the car. But
Mm.
like, he wasn't worried about her. He was like, she's got money, she's got friends, she's got a family. She'll be just fine. So he's not deserting her out in the middle of the highway or anything like that. She's in town. She can go stay in a motel till her parents come and pick her up, or she's fine. So but maybe someone is watching this and
Wow.
sees that this young woman is now vulnerable.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing about mysteries and real life. When you watch, my dad always told me real life is a lot more complicated, mysterious than any story, any
Hmm.
movie. And you hear people, you're like, I just saw so and so, and I mean, it's just really strange that could actually happen
Hmm.
to somebody. Now, is Deputy Birdie Bradshaw's first appearance in the series? And can you please introduce us to Deputy Birdie Bradshaw and how do he and the sheriff work together?
Well, they do. She becomes in the future books a good part of the story. So she was a hardcore partier, and she was going to the university in Missoula, and she failed out because she was such a partier. I lied to her parents about her about it. They live on the other side of the state, and she came to Anderson several years before that with a group of girls to party. There was a big concert going on. So one of the girls was just someone she worked with in a clothing store. She didn't know her really well, but she talks her into going with them to be the designated driver. Well, in the morning, when they all woke up hungover, they realized that that girl is gone. And she was the one, it was her car keys. That girl is gone. And nobody noticed until they woke up the next morning because they weren't really, she was just a hanger on.
Mm-hmm.
So Bertie Bradshaw, that really wakes her up because she goes back to Missoula. She can't find anybody to listen to her. She goes to the sheriff's office too in Anderson and explains that this girl disappeared and nobody will listen to her. They're like, well, she's an adult. There's no sign of foul play. We've had no complaints, whatever. And this girl is one of those edge of the society people who left her family in a different part of the country years before, and they didn't even know she was gone. And so Bertie goes to into law enforcement, goes to college and then police academy to become a deputy because she partly wants to find this friend, and she also wants to make sure that no one else falls through the cracks. And
Mm-hmm.
so she purposely, when she gets out of school, she gets a job in Anderson, and they were looking for someone. So Peter checked her out because a friend of his taught at the college where she went to college, and the guy says, yeah, she had a rough past, but give her a chance. She really cares. And so that's how she comes into Anderson. And this case with this missing girl is her number one concern at this point because of her.
Oh my God, I love the backstory on
Yeah.
your characters.
Mhm.
Now, are the people in this small town of Anderson, Montana, are they close? Can they really trust each other?
Well, just like the rest of humanity in a small town, there are good guys and bad guys and people you can trust and nefarious actors. And so it's a mix. In small towns, different than from a city, everybody knows everybody, and they know what everybody's doing. They know where everybody's going. They know maybe a little too much about people, about different people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of living in the small town. The other side of that is when you need help in a small town, the whole town comes to your aid.
Ah.
So yeah, there's a real interesting mix of characters. I have the local dive bar, which are there are a lot of nefarious characters there, and then I have the local Baptist church. That's Peter's brother Paul and his wife Linda, and yeah, there's just a mix.
The town sounds very intriguing. How many people live in Anderson? I'm just curious. Is it
Oh,
just like maybe 500 people?
maybe 1,000. You know,
Wow, that is a
it's a
small
very small
town.
town. Hmm.
Yes. Oh my God. We interviewed somebody on Off the Shelf. One said there were no traffic lights where he grew up. And I said, what did you want to be when you grew up? He said, anything that was out of this town.
Oh, really?
Somebody else, only had like maybe 2 or 4 traffic lights in the town they grew up in, but those are like small towns. Now,
Yeah.
how did Sheriff Elliott? He's working in Anderson. How did he start working in Stone County, Montana, in the third book in the series, Justice Rendered? What took him to Stone County?
Oh, well, Stone County is the county where Anderson is.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of little towns, not a lot, but there's a few. Like I talk about Princeton, where he was born, and he lived with his parents. Then I talk about Rumsey, and the interesting thing about those is they are actually old ghost towns in that area
Hmm.
that are no longer, towns. They're ghost towns, but I brought them to life. It's kind of a fun. Stone County, there's an old railroad station called the Stone Station over there. So I just made it Stone County. I bring a lot of the old history up in my books that only people around here would know about.
So
Okay,
let me
so
ask you, when does the story take place and how much research did you do? This is just, I find it very interesting. How much research did you do when writing the books, and what time period does these stories actually take place in?
so they're modern day. I do a ton of research. Justice Rendered is the next one, and it talks about this. Do you know those people who have those perpetual garage sales?
Oh, yes.
That's their business. Okay, so the guy who's murdered in Justice Rendered is this. I call him the Toad, um, and he has a perpetual garage sale, and he's just a nuisance. His garage sale is oozing out onto the sidewalk. So it starts out with Sheriff Elliott. There's been complaints from some of the other business people, and so he goes and he gives him a ticket for oozing out onto the sidewalk and not having a business license, that kind of thing. So there's also I talk a lot about antiques in this book. Well, I know nothing about
Mm,
antiques. I mean, zero. And so I did a lot of research on antiques so that when I was talking about them in the book, it was legitimate. I wasn't just making stuff up.
hmm.
Yeah, so I do a lot of research on stuff like that.
Okay. Now, can you give us a brief synopsis of Justice Rendered?
Okay. Well, this perpetual garage sale Toad, we call him the Toad, is murdered, and
Oh,
there's
wow.
there's yeah, and so it's one of those books. So everybody despised this guy. Nobody liked him, but everybody's like, yeah, but I didn't despise him enough to kill him. He was an annoyance, and he was dirty and his stuff was all over the place, and he wasn't very nice. He was kind of an annoying guy anyway. So everybody despised him, but not enough to kill him. Anyway, so he dies, and then a big part of my books is the local senior apartment building, the senior complex. It's like a low income apartment building, where the seniors live, the social security people. And so there's one major character named Nancy May, and she is just a character. Anyway, a couple of the guys in the senior complex are into dumpster diving. And you know what that is? They go to the landfill and they dig through it and they find treasures. And a lot of it is like maybe copper wire, stuff they can sell for money.
Hmm.
It's a little extra income. Anyway, she hears in the Bible study about how sometimes when elderly people die, the families don't want to deal with all the stuff in the house. And some of them are, nice antiques that would be worth money, but
Hmm.
these kids are from out of town, they don't want to deal with it. And so she wants to go, she hears about them being thrown into the landfill. So she goes with these two guys from the senior center to look around for herself. And in the process, they find the body.
Oh, wow.
They're the ones who find the body of this guy.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and he has been put underneath a one of those children's plastic blue swimming
Oh,
pools.
my
He's
goodness.
covered with grass. The pool's over the top of him. he's hidden in there, but she sees the pool and thinks, "Oh, I could use that for my garden," or so,
Oh,
and so that's
wow.
why they go pick the pool up, and there's the body.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So then,
Wow.
yeah, the book is trying to follow the clues and figure out why someone would kill this guy. Who had access to a kiddie pool, who's missing one, stuff like that.
Oh, my goodness. And this is a tourist town, so you really don't know who did it. Now, do the same characters who appeared in book two show up in Justice Rendered?
Yeah, yeah. And so Bertie Bradshaw's still a deputy. All of the other deputies. Yeah, it's basically I try to always bring in the same townspeople, except for, of course, the ones who die. They don't come back.
Now, let me ask you this too before we talk about nefarious intent. Do you resolve the missing girl story? Do you resolve it before you move on to the next book? Justice Rendered. Will the reader find out who killed the toad before it ends, or is there some loose ends at the end of the book?
No, they're all so. I call it a series in a way because it's all the same people, but every story is written to be standalone.
Okay.
So someone could pick one up in the middle. Say the first book they've read is Justice Rendered. It's still a great story. Now I try to reintroduce the characters enough so they know what's going on. Um, and yeah, so the only thing that isn't completely resolved in every book is the mystery of Peter and Paul's parents' murder. I throw in a little clue every book.
Interesting. Now, how long after you finished Justice Rendered did you start on the newest book in the series, Nefarious Intent?
Actually, I'll be in the middle of writing a book and I already have my idea for the next book. So I
Oh,
usually jump right into it. Actually, I have a new one out. It's called Savage Malice. It came out
okay.
on the 31st of July.
Okay.
So Savage Malice is my newest, and I'm starting on book 6. But yeah, before I end the book I'm working on, it's kind of funny because I'll be working on that book and then I'm so excited to start the next book. I can't wait to finish it so I can do the next one.
So can you give us an overview of Nefarious Intent, and then we want to definitely have you uh, uh, introduce us to Savage Malice.
Okay, Nefarious Intent is set around Christmas time. So it's really cold out and snowy, and the guy who owns the local grocery store, who is also he fills in as a deputy now and then. He's kind of older and his family manages the store, and so he has that extra time. Anyway, there's a couple who lives up on the mountain in kind of just up there by themselves, and they usually get groceries delivered. Well, they didn't come to get their groceries, I should say. They usually have an order and they come down and get it. They didn't come and get it. So Tom, the part-time deputy, he takes their order up to their house to check on him because he's kind of worried about them. Nobody can get a hold of them. And he finds them dead. They
Oh,
are they heat their house with wood. The wood stove is turned off. It's someone put the fire out. They left all the doors open. This couple is tied to their kitchen chairs.
mm.
So it's death by allowing them to freeze to death. Or murder. Yeah.
Oh,
So it's definitely a murder. Someone did that so they would freeze to death. So then, not long after that, their son, who lives in town, he's a banker, he and his wife go missing. And the only clue to that is a big puddle of blood in their house.
mm.
Yeah, so the book is trying to solve what happened to the son and his wife, whose blood is that? Are they dead? Where'd the bodies go? Who killed the parents? Who tied the parents up? Why? What were they after?
And Tom Edwards, is this his first appearance? In is this
And
in your series? In the series?
no, no, he's been in there before, but he's usually, like I said, he's just a part-time deputy. He shows up usually when they're just, they most small town sheriff's departments have very limited personnel and huge areas to cover. And so when they get these these murders, they're short of help. They need someone to back up. So Tom usually he takes over traffic control, things like that, when they are busy with a murder, just to ease some of the burden. So he shows up every book.
Okay. And Birdie is still in?
Birdie will stay in.
Oh, okay. Now you said Savage Malice coming out. Well, it's
It's
about
out. Yeah.
oh, it is out now. Okay, Savage Malice. What is going on in Savage Malice? And I did this question just popped into my head. Does the sheriff Peter Elliott, does he age through these books, or you pretty much keep him the same age?
Pretty much. Yeah. I try to make them, I kind of go by seasons, so only in these 5 books, only maybe a couple years has passed.
Okay.
Yeah. I know a
Okay.
lot of murders for a small town, but it's,
Now,
um,
what's happening in Savage Malice? Can you give us a brief synopsis of this your latest book?
oh, Savage Malice is a lot of fun. So you've heard of cattle mutilation?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a big deal with ranchers, and not just in Montana. It's been going on since maybe the late 60s, where ranchers go out and they find a cow dead. Say its udder has been cut out if it's a female, genitals, the tongue is usually missing. There's absolutely no clues. The local sheriff, when I decided to do this book, he said to me, if you figure out who's doing this and how, you let me know. 'Cause I don't know. So, so there's a rancher in this book, and there's 3 cows mutilated in the same night.
Mm.
And not only the cows, his hired hand is found also with his mutilated in the same way. His throat is slit,
Wow.
so that's how they killed him, and then his guts are cut open. So
Mm.
it's a murder mystery plus the cattle mutilation thing. And there's like 5 theories of, everybody has their ideas. Some people believe it's aliens from another planet. Some people believe it's government conspiracy. Some think it's cults, like satanic cults,
Hmm.
are killing them to drink the blood, or ritual sacrifices or whatever. Some people think it's just neighbor ranchers trying to drive them out of business.
Mm.
Uh, oh, and then some people say, like I had a veterinarian swear to me, he said, no, the cattle mutilations I have seen have always been natural predators. Like
Oh.
wolves or yeah, so everybody has I know ranchers around here who believe in the aliens, ranchers who believe it's competitors. Everyone has
Hmm.
their idea. So I researched all of those things really, really hard because I wanted to get it right, and
Hmm.
I wanted to pay tribute to everybody's theory.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's what that one's about.
Okay, and who introduced us to some of the characters in this Savage Malice who helped move the story forward?
Well, it's the same people. It's Peter. One of the deputies, or 2 of the deputies I haven't mentioned in this interview yet, are Angus. He's a young man, uh, got bright red hair, very very full of energy. Then there's Helen. She's a middle aged woman, struggles with her weight. Her husband left her for the waitress at the cafe. So there, and then when he left, she has 2 children, a son and a daughter. They took the dad's side for some bizarre reason, and so she is, divorced and depressed and struggling with her weight. Eats too much. So in Savage Malice, she has some health problems because of that. Anyway,
Oh.
so Angus, and she's kind of the one who goes to the crime scenes, and she's taken all the classes and is the expert on that. So she and Angus investigate out there in the field. Um,
I
so
got.
yeah.
I'm curious. So yeah, you said a lot of murders in a small town.
Hmm.
How would so that's helping, to help to move the series, the books forward. Uh, but how would you describe Anderson? Would you describe it as a generally a peaceful town where most people are safe, or would you say, "Nah, don't go to Anderson"?
Oh no, no, it's yeah, like, I don't know, after you read these books, you won't. Um, it is. It's a typical ranching town. Of course, they have the tourist strip, which typical ranching towns don't have, but, it's a typical ranching town, and I try to delve into real life concerns, like the cattle mutilation. I actually last summer, some local ranchers found out I was doing the next book on that, and I got
Mm,
a call one morning, and the rancher said, "Hey, we had 3 last night. Do you wanna see 'em?"
wow.
And so I met them over in another community where they're renting the field. It's a big state, but we all know each other, you know? So I
Hmm.
met them over there, and they took me out to the field, and I saw these 3 mutilated cattle firsthand, and took pictures and
Mm,
notes, and so I could, when I was writing about them, I knew exactly how to describe it.
wow.
Yeah.
D- uh, um, is there any romance in Savage Malice? Is Peter and maybe Birdie or somebody else starting to
Um,
have feelings for each other?
yeah, there's a touch of romance all through it. So Peter had an old high school sweetheart named Holly Noel, and she's a big part of Land Grab because she has what I call the sapphire pit, where there's a lot of sapphires in this area, and people can go either dig sapphires themselves, or there's places where they just sell you bags of gravel and you can go through them. It's fun. Um, anyway, so she owns a business called the Sapphire Pit. Her and Peter went to college together, and she just had it in her mind that he was going to go into geology with her, and they were going to run this business together. Well, he just wasn't into it. And so he dropped out of school on a Christmas vacation. He just decided, I'm not going back. And and he gave her an engagement ring for Christmas. She was so mad, she threw it at him.
Mm,
That broke him up. And that's when he applied to the sheriff's department and became a deputy. Yeah. So, and that's where his heart was. So they land grab, they have this kind of tense relationship, still a little feelings there. Um, Birdie comes into innocent slain, and so the county clerk in the sheriff's office, he started out to be a deputy, but he just couldn't hack it. He
mm,
didn't have the like he what killed him on that area was he went to a domestic scene, and he was too compassionate. He didn't like the violence. He thought the wife was the one being abused. It turned out she was the bad guy, and it was a mess. And he decided there, I don't have the temperament for that. So he still is their office clerk, and he helps them with a lot of the forensics and stuff. Anyway, so he's in love with Birdie. He just from love at first sight. And so they go on a couple of pseudo dates, and that carries through also. And
okay.
then Angus, the wiry redhead, he is in love with Holly, Peter's old girlfriend. So that's a little bit of tension there. So, I carry those through. They aren't a big part of the story, but they're there. Yeah.
Okay. So as we start to come to a close, what have readers been saying about the Anderson Chronicles series?
I've had wonderful, wonderful reception. Great reviews. They love the stories, the characters. They say that the story, there's not that they don't lag. They move along pretty swiftly. They can follow the clues. I have them. It's like say like, well, it's like I'm sitting on Peter's shoulder solving the crime with them. I feel like I'm there. Then I think that's a wonderful compliment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I have so enjoyed having you on, as I'm sure our listeners have as well, Kit. And then each of your stories sound so interesting, but also very different one from the other. And then you said they could each be a standalone book, but
Mhm.
we see Sheriff Peter Elliott show up and some other characters in each of the books. Where can off the shelf listeners get a copy of your books?
Okay, well, my website is kitcarson.com, and that's Carson with a K. And there's links on my website to buy all the books. It's also set up now that you can get the ebook off my site directly from BookFunnel, I think. So it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all the other places books are sold. It's in hardback, soft cover, ebook, and audio.
Your audiobooks are taking off, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I have a wonderful narrator. He's originally from Texas, and he just has a wonderful voice. So he's working on Savage Malice right now. He's a little behind on that one, but all the others are in audio.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements where our listeners could support you and listen to you if they would like?
Well, this is the last one planned at the moment, but I have more coming. I just don't have them on the schedule yet. I do a lot of for Montana people. I do a lot of in-person sales at arts fairs, vintage fairs, that holiday fairs, that sort of thing. So I have one scheduled in Townsend, Montana, the first weekend of October, and two in Helena and one in Missoula. So if they're in any of those areas, they could actually come and see me. I sell the books and sign them, and I just love
Okay.
chatting with the people. And
Awesome. Now, last question. If you're on social media, uh, can you tell us where readers could find you on social media if they want to connect with you there?
so yeah, I'm on Kit Karson author on Facebook, and I am on Twitter, Kit Karson 11, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, your book sounds so interesting. Every
Thank you.
single one of them. And this is one thing I love about this show when I listen to the authors describe their books. You can't get as you just can't get as in depth the emotion, the way the author describes their book, sometimes the inspiration behind the story, in a book description. You just can't. And so, and the more I hear authors talk about their books, the more I'm like, oh my God, that story is so interesting. So thank you for being here with us on Off the Shelf. And Kit grew up in Montana, so she is like right up on this. This is something an area she has lived in. She's a Montana native, and she loves the great outdoors. And if you came in midstream, no worries. When the show finishes streaming, we put the link out there. You can listen to it on iTunes, YouTube, iHeart. There's so many places you can catch off the shelf books. But other titles, the titles in the series, and she's working on another one right now that Kit Carson has written, and we discussed these: Land Grab, Innocent Slain, Justice Rendered, Nefarious Intent, and then she just did Malice, Savage Malice. That one is out now, but she said when she's midway through, she's already working on, got the next book cooking in her mind. And I encourage you to visit Kit Carson online at KitKarson.com. I want to thank you, Kit, for taking time out of your day to be here with us and our listeners on Off the Shelf Books podcast. And to each of our listeners, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Remember, just set a little note on your calendar. You're gonna catch Off the Shelf Books on Saturday mornings, or anytime you can listen to the archives. And as I always tell you, and I hope one day we will all truly believe this, you are absolutely amazing. You are phenomenal. Please go out and create a fabulous day for yourself. Kit, I'll send you a link to the show when it finishes streaming. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.